Shreyasi Singh, who was awarded the prestigious Arjuna Award in 2018 for her outstanding achievements in the sport of double trap shooting. She has represented India in several international events, including the Commonwealth Games and Asian Games. She has won numerous medals for her country and has been instrumental in promoting shooting as a sport in India. Lastly, we have Dr. Ujjval Maske, who is an assistant professor and head of the department at Mahapurush Srimanta Shankardev Vishavidyalaya in Assam. His publications include research on Hatha Yoga, Yogic anatomy and physiology, among others. The moderator for this session is Dr. Bithiah Grace Jaganathan, professor in the Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering, IIT Guwahati. She will be facilitating the conversation and keep us on schedule. So without any further delay, I would like to hand it over to the session moderator, who will take it forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitish. Good evening, everyone. So today's panel discussion topic is Health, Wellbeing and Sports Agenda for Youth. So we have distinguished panel members here, Mrs. Laishram Sarita Devi, Dr. Asheema Haobijam, Ms. Shreyasi Singh, Dr. Ujjval Maske. I welcome you all. I'll set the context a little bit for the discussion here, and we'll move on to the discussion. The current century is the century of the youth. 1/4 of the world population is young people. So investments made in promoting the well-being of young people will give great returns. Several countries have recognized this and have started several programs promoting the well-being of young people. So in this context, today we will be discussing about the mental well-being, the role of sports in promoting mental well-being, and also how the traditional Indian medicine can help in the holistic well-being of our youth. So I would like to start by inviting the panelists to give an opening note, and I will start with Mrs. Sarita Devi. Mrs. Sarita, the Indian vision of sports for all is a unique vision aimed at the physical and mental well-being of the youth. How do you think sports in general has helped you and the young people that you are mentoring when it comes to their well-being?
Good evening all and namaste. स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू जो यूथ में जो बदलाव ला सकते हैं, बहुत सारे बदलाव ला सकते हैं. तो फॉर एग्जांपल मैं एक मेरा लाइफ के बारे में स्वतः सा जो मैंने स्ट्रगल करके स्पोर्ट्स थ्रू मैंने जो किया है वो मैं शेयर करना चाहती हूँ.
Sports has many positive impacts on youths of India and over the world. And now I would like to take an example by talking about my experience in my personal life.
मेरा नाम लाइश्रम सरिता देवी, फॉर्मर वर्ल्ड चैम्पियन एंड एशिया का डिफरेंट वेट कैटेगरी में 5 बार चैम्पियन रह चुकी हूँ.
My name is Sarita Devi. I am former world champion and I've won 7 world medals, and in which 5 are gold medals, 1 is bronze and 1 is silver.
और बेस्ट एशिया का बेस्ट बॉक्सर भी रह चुकी हूँ और Arjuna Awardee and world champion हूँ.
I'm also an Arjuna Awardee and I've also been awarded the Asian's best boxer.
मैं आज मोटिवेट और यूथ में क्या बदलाव ला सकता है स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू, वो मेरे थ्रू मेरा स्टोरी के थ्रू मैं बताना चाहती हूँ.
Through my personal life story, I would like to speak how sports can be a motivating factor in youth's life.
मैं मणिपुर में that time 95, 96, 97, that time इंसर्जेंसी का बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था मणिपुर के अंदर.
Back in 1990s, the mid-1990s, we had there was a very big influence of insurgency over the state Manipur in India.
तो मेरा जो गांव है एक छोटा सा गांव है हिल के पास.
I lived in a small village near the foot of the hills.
तो रोज में मेरा घर पे 50 लोग आके खाना खाता है. रोज में इंसर्जेंसी को देखते हैं तो बंदूक को पकड़ के खेलना. रोज में देखते तो मुझे भी वो लोग जैसा बनना है मैंने महसूस किया.
In my house, there would be 40 to 50 militants that comes over, and it was a normal view to me as I keep seeing them and their weapons, and it became quite a familiar view to me.
तो मैं धीरे धीरे उस जैसा बनने के लिए मैं धीरे धीरे हेल्प करने लगे. अलग अलग जगह पे बंदूक ट्रांसफर करना में हेल्प करने लगे.
I started being influenced by them, and I also were used in transferring their weapons for them.
That time उस दौरान मेरा उम्र है 12-13 उस टाइम था उम्र मेरा.
I was 12 to 13 years old back then.
तो रोज एक दिन मुझे भी ऐसे बनना है. रोज बंदूक के साथ खेलते थे मैं.
I would always dream of becoming like them, and back then I loved to play with the weapons that they brought.
तो मुझे उस दौरान बहुत पसंद था. मैं बहुत एक्टिव था. स्पोर्ट्स बहुत पसंद था, लेकिन मुझे कोई गाइड करने वाला नहीं था. स्पोर्ट्स खेलने से क्या मिलता है और स्पोर्ट्स खेलने से अपना देश का नाम रोशन कर सकता है, मुझे पता नहीं था.
Back then, though I was very active and I had a very big interest in sports, I had neither exposure nor idea or the importance of the sports, and I also had little to no support.
तो मैं धीरे धीरे इंसर्जेंसी की तरफ बढ़ने लगे. एक दिन मेरा ब्रदर ने मुझे मारा.
And when I got dragged into the insurgency, I was beaten badly by my brother.
तो उसके बाद मैंने 1 वीक खाना नहीं खाया. तब जाके मैंने स्पोर्ट्स ज्वाइन किया.
Then I fasted for 1 week, and then that I decided I would be joining sports.
तो मैं धीरे धीरे स्पोर्ट्स खेलने के बाद मैं फर्स्ट टाइम मेरा लाइफ में 2001 में मुझे इंडिया रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए मौका मिला एशियन चैंपियनशिप खेलने के लिए.
And that's how I started with sports. And in 2001, I went to Bangkok representing India.
तो उस दौरान मैं एशियन चैंपियनशिप जो खेल रहे थे मैं फाइनल में चाइना के साथ हार गया.
Back then, that was Asian Championship. I lose to China in my finals.
तो उस दौरान मेडल सेरेमनी का टाइम आया. पोडियम में सब लोग जो जितने भी मेडलिस्ट है पोडियम में बुलाया और पोडियम में खड़ा होके मेडल रिसीव कर रहे थे.
And then I see the winners going over to the podium receiving their medals.
And उस टाइम में मैं मुझे पता नहीं था जब एक कंपटीशन स्पोर्ट्स खेलने से और एशियन चैंपियनशिप जब गोल्ड मेडल मिलता है तो नेशनल एंथेम गाते हैं. मुझे मालूम नहीं था, किसी ने बताया भी नहीं था. तो फर्स्ट टाइम मैंने देखा चाइनीज का नेशनल एंथेम गाते हुए और जितने भी गैलरी में जितने भी लोग खड़ा है सब ने खड़ा होकर रेस्पेक्ट दिया. उस दौरान मुझे महसूस हुआ मुझे भी एक दिन अपना देश का नाम रोशन करना है, नेशनल फ्लैग हाई करना है.
So when I lose to China in my finals, then I saw the China flag waving and their national anthem being sung. I so badly wanted it to be my Indian flag and our national anthem. So that's when I decided that I needed to see myself there waving my flag and to our national anthem.
तो उसके बाद मैं बहुत मेहनत किया. 2000 से लेके 2020 तक अपना देश के लिए खेला और नेशनल फ्लैग हाई किया. और उसके बाद पूरा मैं स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू जो जैसे पहले बचपन में पहले मैं गांव में क्या सोचते थे उसके बाद फिर बाहर निकलने के बाद जो एक स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू मुझे जो मिला है बदलने का, तो मैंने 2001 से लेके 20 तक कंटिन्यूस मैंने अपने देश के लिए नाम रोशन किया.
So after deciding that I would do the same, that I would wave my flag and I will let my national anthem being sung on the award, I have been winning medals for over 20 years. That is from 2001 to 2020.
तो ये स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू जो मेरा अंदर जो बदला है, जैसे सेम जो यूथ है इंडिया का जितने भी यूथ हैं, तो स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू बहुत चीज़ें बदल सकता है लाइफ में.
So this is one change that I have observed in me, which is my respect and love towards nation, which I didn't know before I came into sports. And I would like to see such changes in the youth over the world.
तो आजकल यूथ में मतलब स्पोर्ट्स कंपल्सरी होना चाहिए. स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू हम फिजिकल और मेंटली फिट होके हम अपना देश को नाम रोशन और आगे जाने में बहुत बड़ा स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू हेल्प कर सकता है.
And I believe sports should be compulsory, at least within the youths, as it has positive mental impacts and positive physical impacts.
तो उसके बाद में 2021 में मैं जब कोविड आया तो मैं नेशनल कैंप से छोड़ के वापस आ गए थे घर पे.
Then in 2001, when the heat of corona was going on, I retired and I came back to my hometown.
तो उसके बाद मैंने सेम मैं घर पे वापस आने के बाद मैंने देखा जो यूथ है, बच्चे हैं, तो पहले हमारा टाइम में इंसर्जेंसी का प्रॉब्लम था और अभी जो टाइम है ड्रग, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के अंदर ड्रग बहुत बच्चे लोग जो है ड्रग लेते हुए देखा तो मुझे बहुत दुख लगा.
Being back now in my hometown, I see that the children now are also facing big drug issues as I was facing, though the problem is different, I was facing those kind of problems too. So I decided to help.
सेम स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू जैसे मैंने बदला है, जो बच्चे यूथ जो है ड्रग में जाने वाला उसको स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू उसको स्पोर्ट्स में डाल के अपना देश के लिए नाम रोशन करने में और यूथ को हमारा जो यंग बच्चे जो है हेल्दी रखने के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा रास्ता मिलेंगे.
So realizing the role of sports, what role sports has played in my life, I also believe that it will also play a very special role in motivating and directing the youth to a better path.
तो इसलिए जो मैंने जो स्ट्रगल किया है, जो सेम लाइक यंग बच्चे जो है ड्रग लेना और ड्रग फ्री में मिल रहे हैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट के अंदर, खास करके मणिपुर में, तो उससे बचाने के लिए एक ही तरीका है, मुझे लगता है मैंने स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू बचा सकता है. तो मैंने अभी मेरा एकेडमी शुरू किया है. एकेडमी के अंदर मैंने अलग अलग हिल एरिया जगह से लेके छोटा गांव से बच्चे जो उठा के लेकर आते हैं मेरा एकेडमी में मैं ट्रेनिंग देती हूँ, क्योंकि वो स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू वो लोग को स्पोर्ट्स के थ्रू जो ड्रग है और इंसर्जेंसी है उससे हम बचा के अपने देश के नाम रोशन करने में हम बड़ा हेल्प कर सकते हैं.
Many young youths of India, especially in states like Manipur, has lost their youth and their direction in the drug issue. So I believe that sports is a very big, effective solution and rescue from the drug issues. And I've also started my sports academy that can support, motivate, and that can support, motivate the children such as me into sports and direct their life in the right path through sports.
Mrs. Sarita, thank you for sharing your experience. I will come back to the academy that you have started. Thank you. I would like to move on to Dr. Asheema. You know that the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected everyone, especially the youth and their mental well-being. What, as a psychiatrist, what kind of issues have you seen the youth have faced? And what kind of interventions do you think, or what you have practiced, have helped the youth to overcome these things?
Thank you so much. Hello everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. Firstly, I would like to just go on the facts and figures of mental health over the world and the country. The National Mental Health Survey held in India reported that around 7.3% of the youth between the age of 13 to 17 years are suffering from a mental health issue of some kind. Of this, a study done in NIMHANS stated that only 2% of the youth report mental health issues compared to the 20%, which is a WHO report from the world. Secondly, depression has been found to be one of the major causes of morbidity and mortality among the youth of the nation. It has been said that suicide is the third cause of mortality among the youth, which is below 19 years of age. Despite these facts and figures, we find that only 2% of the world economy has been devoted to the use in mental health care around the world. Now, as ma'am mentioned, the COVID situation. Apart from the COVID situation, there are 3-4 points I would like to mention here. First is the COVID situation obviously created a kind of artificial surrounding for us. We were like health in petri dishes, done experiments on us. Like this is what the normal people felt. Conditions such as social isolation, lockdowns, the economic devastation that followed, the lives that were snatched away. And one of the things that has been neglected is that the learning that the young people were deprived of. There was a joke going around in my state that the many young people were passed, they didn't give exams, they didn't give this and they didn't give that these people should not be given jobs, they are not educated. This was a joke going around. But if you think deeply, this group of young people, they were deprived of the college life, the school life they were deserving of. They were deprived of that learning phase. Because of this deprivation, because of this devastation, in my own clinical practice, many young people came with, even at the age of 8 years, even at the age of 9 years, they came with complaint of OCD, they came with complaint of even suicidal behaviors. Many were even asking existential questions, they were asking what is the purpose of life, what is sadness, which you don't expect from a child of 9 or 10 years or 8 years. So these were the unexpected consequences, the mental health consequences of the COVID-19 situation. The second important factor is the social media and the technological use. As we all know, we love social media, we love our mobiles, we love our apps, which is fully justified because it has so much advantages that it has given us. If we look at the pros of the social media use, you can see that mental health, knowledge imparted through social media is very commendable. We cannot neglect this part. Also, the telemedicine, the e-medicine, the digital medicine that we see the boom right now, is the pros of social media. Coming to the cons, you can see that social media has been sometimes unhealthily used for self-validation. It has been unhealthily used for attention-seeking behavior, which might have been resolved in some other ways. It has been used for maybe escapism also. It has been used for bullying. It has been used for even to perpetuate violence against minority groups, against sexual minorities. So these are and then coming to the social media addiction, mobile phone addiction. So these are the pros and cons of social media, and we need to find a middle ground here. So as ma'am asked, what we can do about it? We have to firstly see mental health, brain, mind as being holistic with the body. It is not separate. We cannot say mental health and neglect our bodily health. So in some few years or some months back, we had this battle between the Ayurvedic medication, the homeopathy and allopathy medication, this and that. We can incorporate all of this together, We can take the benefits of all of this. We have to know our place, the Ayurvedic medicine, the natural. Everyone has to know their place and has to come together. Because the body, the mind can simply survive on medication. They cannot simply survive on chemicals, obviously. We have to look at the body, the mind as a holistic principle, and we have to bring mental health at the community level. Mental health has not gone grassroots yet. Even though we keep talking about mental health, we keep talking about stigma, it has not gone grassroots, it has not gone to the communities. So I would like to have this discussion. These are the few topics that I'm opening up for discussion today. And that's
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Asheema. I would like to ask Ms. Shreyasi. You are a good example of someone who's a sports person and as well as a policy maker. What kind of policies do you think have to be there to bring out the well-being of our youth? You can explain on what is already there and what can be made.
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, a very good evening to all of you, and for all the nationals that have come to India for the first time, a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Shreyasi Singh. I have represented, and I still do represent India in shotgun shooting, which is trap shooting at international level. I have been awarded the President's Award in 2018 for the number of medals and honors that I have won for our country. Now, friends, before I answer the question or discuss the topic that has been brought to me, I would like to share with all of you the importance of sports in any individual's life. We all know that largely the holistic development of a nation depends upon its youth or the power of youth. And as we like to call it in Hindi, it's called the Yuva Josh. So how do we direct this Yuva Josh or the power of youth onto the right path, in a more positive, in a more natural way? It is known to us, and we have doctors on this panel who will support this theory, that while we exercise, when we play an aerobic sport, when we exert that sort of energy, happy hormones such as endorphins are released. That itself helps us have a healthy mindset, and a healthy mindset is a healthy being, a healthy human being in general. So starting with that, I think sports is very important to be inculcated in everybody's life. And it does not necessarily need to be a sport that you are playing at a national level or international level to win medals for the country. It should be purely done to support yourself, support your lifestyle, and promote and help the nation grow. Because if you grow as a person, then somewhere in return you're helping the nation also grow, whether it is economically or socially. So that's why sports is very important in every person's lifestyle. And also another thing that I'd like to share with all of you is that I think in life we all have ups and downs. We all know that life is not going to be, it's not going to be an uphill where at the end of our cycle, we'll all find ourselves to be successful. We all know that life is a roller coaster. We all have our shares of ups and downs. Now, what sports primarily teaches you is how to lose. And that is called sportsmanship. If you can learn how to fail, how to lose, how to fall down, but then again, wake up the next day, be motivated, be determined, work harder, and to finally achieve that success. That is what sports today teaches us. And that is important for not just people like me or other sports people who have to win a medal for India. It is important for everybody who has to go through life, because we all know that life is a roller coaster, ups and downs will come, but one has to be determined, one has to work hard, and we all have to do that with a positive mindset in order for us and our country to grow and move forward. Having said that, ma'am, as you were asking about the policies that have been developed in India, I see that there are a great number of policies that have been introduced in India for sports development, whether it is policies like TOPS that supports our athletes for international and national training programs, that helps them compete at international standards. There are policies like Halo India, which helps us develop sporting skills at school and colleges level so that the kids have a strong base structure going into any sport forward. There are innumerous sports policies that have come out in the last 7-8 years. And I think the performance in the Olympic Games has been reflective to all those policies. Wherein 2012, we were, in 2004, we had only one silver Olympic medalist, that was Colonel Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore. In 2021 or 2020 Olympic Games, we now have almost 7 to 8 medalists at the Olympic Games, along with a gold medalist. So the number of medals have gone up in terms of Olympic Games, in terms of Commonwealth Games, in terms of Asian Games. And I think as far as sports and India is, if we look at it together, I see that India is growing internationally. And I also see as a sports person that India is now upcoming in most sports events as a strong and as a strong contender for medals, whether gold, silver, or bronze. It's not just a few of us, or it's not just earlier, like Sarita Didi was talking. Earlier, we only had, let's say, shooting or boxing in which India was good. Now we also have table tennis, we have fencing, we have, well, of course, javelin throw, in which India has greatly developed. And with all these policies, what is also important that we need to inculcate, and I say this as a woman and somebody who's in politics, that there is a point that we need to sort of turn the camera towards women in sports and how we can include policies that are beneficial to women that want to move forward in a career like sports. Because given the social structure that we live in, sports is primarily a man's forte, and women are not very easily supported by their family or by their social system when they want to come and take sports as a primary career. So definitely there is one addition that I would like to see going forward in terms of the international and national sector in policy. But all in all, I'm really proud of where India is standing today at international level, whether it is our socio-economic development or it's the development in sports. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shreyasi, for highlighting the policies. I would like to move on to Dr. Ujjval Maske. Our young people are constantly looking for ways to improve themselves and to handle stress in everyday life. How do you think we can combine the sports, the Indian way of living, and the knowledge about mental health can help our young people to lead the life the way they want it to be led?
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar and good evening. I am Dr. Ujjval Maske. I am not a medical practitioner, but expert in yoga, BSc Yoga, then MSc Yoga, and I completed my PhD on the topic related to hyperthyroidism. So I have developed a package for hyperthyroidism. I am now working here in a university in the yoga department. Yoga essentially, it is an ancient heritage, cultural heritage, and it was practiced as a spiritual discipline. But nowadays, worldwide, yoga is accepted for its health benefits. Due to its therapeutical benefits, now people are practicing yoga for the management of diseases, to be healthy, and therefore it is becoming more popular. Indian government is also taking steps towards this in various areas, especially in the education, in the health, and in the sports. For the education, Indian government have established few universities and has also established yoga department in several central and state universities, and thereby we are spreading the message of yoga through the education system. Also, Indian government is establishing and promoting the yoga, the Indian system, in the health sector also. In every blocks, Indian government is establishing the health and wellness centers so that our village peoples can take benefit from this yoga system. And recently, from 2 years, now Indian government established yoga as a sports. So the yoga practitioners also participating in the sports events, and this way the yoga is spreading nowadays. Now, in concern of mental health, how yoga can be beneficial for mental health to relieve the stress. So the practices like the balancing asanas, I hope the participants, delegates know about the balancing asanas like Vrikshasana, Garudasana, that tree pose, etc. Pranayamas like alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhan pranayama, Bhramri pranayama, these pranayamas, and meditation, whatever meditation you practice. These practices are very much important to calm down the mind, also to concentrate. So when the practices are helpful in normalizing the hormones, the body, then we can concentrate on the things, whatever we can, whatever we wish to concentrate on. So in this way, the yoga practices are very much beneficial to maintain the mental health of the youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ujjval. I just want to have one follow-up question for Ms. Shreyasi and Dr. Asheema. The drug abuse among our youth is increasing. So I would like to touch upon the policy-making decisions that is required. I would like Ms. Shreyasi to answer. And then what kind of measures can we take in the mental health point? Dr. Asheema. So if you can make it a little bit short, then we'll have time for the questions.
Okay. Now, if we are to tackle drug abuse among the youth, we have to, let me say from my clinical practice or what we are taught, when we take a drug history from a person, which are usually youth, we have to go from the family history. Firstly, drug abuse has a genetic component, which has already been in many studies. Secondly, the environment that the child has grown up from, dysfunctional families, mental health issue in the parents themselves, economic issues, these chaotic social scenarios. For example, in a state like Manipur, which has a very high level of drug abuse, there are so many factors, like there are geopolitical factors like location of the state, then there are situations like unemployment, militancy, as Sarita Didi already told. So these are the conditions we have to focus on. Secondly, the availability of the drug itself, that has to be seen, taken into consideration. Thirdly, one of the main factors that most of us tend to ignore is that when there is drug abuse, 50% of the time there is mental health disorder in the person abusing the drug. So this mental health disorder can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be anything. Many of the times the drug abusers are using these substances to kind of self-medicate themselves. Why? Because there's stigma against seeking help for mental illness, which is much lesser than the stigma against drug abuse. So instead of going to a psychiatrist or a mind doctor or like the crazy doctor, as they say, they prefer to use drugs because it is more easily available and you're less judged for it, let's say. So these are the factors we have to take into account when you're treating a person of substance use. You can't just treat by doing detoxification. You can't just treat by giving them anti-craving agents or whatever medication there is available. You have to treat the person as a whole, as a system, as a family. So these are the points that we have to look into.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Asheema. Ms. Shreyasi.
See, as far as drugs abuse is concerned, I see that it usually starts from a place where a person is mentally unhealthy, unhappy, and maybe has freer time on their hands to try something like this, to try something new, to feel something different from what the world or the reality is making him or her show. And I think that's exactly where substance abuse or drug abuse starts from. Now, like I was talking about diversifying or directing that sort of energy via sports. In sports, we have a very strong prohibited list of such substances that fall under narcotics or also falls under performance enhancement drugs. But what it helps is that when a child is spending or exerting all his or her energy into doing sports or aerobic activity in a day, and then thereafter is reaching district level competitions, national level competitions, there is already a policy by the World Anti-Doping Agency and by the National Anti-Doping Agency in place which stops the athlete to get into any sort of substance abuse, because he or she knows that at this point, a simple urine sample can end their career, can end all their hard work. Having said that, this is sports protecting the generation or the youth from going towards any sort of substance abuse. Having said that, on ground level, of course, we need to have stricter laws in place. The availability of drugs is becoming a growing concern and if that availability is not curbed almost immediately, then I think this is going to become a global problem, which I don't think any of the nations in today's world want to have at their hands. So there definitely needs to be a stricter policy of how these drugs are available on ground so easily.
Thank you. The floor is now open for question and answer from the participants. The front row, please. Can someone give the microphone?
Thank you. So my question is about, so the components of mental health and physical health varies person to person. So I believe it is possible for some of the educational programs can be not necessarily matching to have one universal solution to everybody that applies to all the youth. So my question is about, how do you think we can provide those balance between providing those opportunities that would be open to everybody who want to take part in, but then also not imposing on those people who necessarily don't need or want or feel pressure to do something that they that does not necessarily lead to their well-being.
You would like to take?
You'll have to repeat that for me.
Dr. Asheema?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the gist of your question. Should there be policies which are more inclusive? Yeah. Are you trying to say that?
Can you please rephrase?
Yeah. So how do you think we can take balance between motivating youth to take care of their well-being, but also not forcing them and imposing one solution?
Definitely, there can't be one solution to such a huge problem like mental health conditions. It has to be inclusive. It has to be at every level possible. So one thing that we can avoid here, especially from my part as a doctor, is not to over-medicalize situations or conditions. There's a movement called anti-psychiatry that has been going on for a long time, which obviously we are also responsible of. For example, the main diagnostic book or the diagnostic criteria that we follow, the DSM, has been criticized for adding almost everything there out there, like from caffeine addiction to this or that. I would not like to go into that. But this is a responsibility from our part, from the youth or whoever is seeking treatment also. Especially it is our responsibility, I think, the mental health workers, because we have to be very careful by diagnosing someone. It's not only about stigma. It's mostly about the whole procedures that a person has to go through once he's diagnosed. You have to go through some therapy, you have to go through medication, which are very lengthy and very long processes, especially in mental health situation. So the onus lies especially with us, the mental health care workers, and as a society as a whole. Not to over-medicalize situations and also not to neglect those people who are really seeking help. I think I have answered.
Thank you. That lady in the middle, can you please? mic is off.
Good evening, everyone. I am Pooja Kumari from Center of Sustainable Polymer. I have a question for Dr. Asheema. As in the Indian society traditionally places importance of women in marriages, this often leads to poor life choices in individual, which leads to the society. And thus, as the leading voices on this panel, what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I can't. What marriages?
Like we are in the traditional society till now in the India, and we place importance on the marriages. Thus, till now, girls or women, they places importance of the marriages in their life as respect to education or career.
Okay. You mean the importance that is placed in a women's more to marriages than
yeah, and
education?
How does it leads to their poor choices and also suicides rate in India? Yeah.
Acha. Obviously, it is wrong. Connecting marriages with suicide. Okay, if I go by statistics, young people who are married younger, let's say, who are who go into the domestic life in the younger stage, they are more prone to have, more prone to have divorces. They are more prone to have separation, and this condition will lead to more mental health situations. Yes, India still is a patriarchal society. I think it's still a patriarchal society, and more emphasis is always laid upon the women to first think about the domestic situation, think about marriage, think about family, than any other factors. This is mostly for most part of the country or the nation. So this scenario obviously will lead to a condition where the person would not be satisfied with the life that she is leading. She won't be fully prepared to have a married life. She will also have to give up on so many hopes and dreams that she might have as an individual, as a woman. So continuing from that, if we go further, when she has a child, she won't be ready for the child. So again, that might lead to poor child upbringing. So many situations will, come from that situation of giving priority to the marriage or domesticity of a woman, then giving more priority to the education or the career of a woman.
Thank you.
If I can relate like that, then yeah.
You want to add?
No, I just actually, not in terms of doctor or a sports person here, but speaking as a woman of marriageable age but still single, I would like to clearly put this point across that this question that you asked is, well, it's the harsh reality of the Indian society that we have to live with, but the difference starts with you and me. The difference starts when you tell your parents or you tell your societal people, which is your uncles, aunties, your neighbors, your school friends, etc. When you tell them, when you put your foot down and you tell them that, no, I am going to go ahead and pursue my professional career before I go get married. And until I do my professional, for somebody, it can be like if I don't, first I want to achieve my career, and then I want to have a personal life or a married life. And that change needs to be brought about in the society by people like you and me, by people like Dr. Asheema, who's sitting here, and then I'm sure many girls who have put their foot down in front of their parents and said, no, I'm not going to go that way, and I am going to first make a professional career before I get married. So I think everybody, and I expect the men and the boys sitting in the auditorium today to actually support the women, whether it's their friends, whether it's their cousins, sisters, to please change the narrative, change the society. ये हम भारत में रहते हैं, भारत एक पितृवाद ग्रसित देश बनते जा रहा है. भारत एक पितृवाद ग्रसित देश था नहीं. It was never a patriarchal society. We have more goddesses than we have God. We pray to our women. हम भारत माँ की पूजा करते हैं. गाय हमारी माता है. इन सभी चीजों को देखते हुए अगर हम मातृशक्ति को इतना प्रणाम सलाम सर झुकाकर आशीर्वाद मांगते हैं, तो अपने आसपास की बाजू बगल की जो महिलाएं हैं उनको सपोर्ट क्यों नहीं करते? So I just request all the audience to please, every time you see such a social stigma coming forward, please take a step for your friends and your family members. Thank you.
Thank you. That gentleman over there in the middle.
My name is Sanjeev Singh from the Economics Department of Guwahati University. My question is to Shreyasi ma'am. So as someone, I have been working with the females in the small pockets of Meghalaya with sports to give them a sense of self, basically to empower them in their lives. And I have seen that how sports can give them a sense of self when they are playing. So my question to you is that how can we bring in policies which encourages all the females in India to play sports, not just to become like sports person, but also to have that sense of self so that they can lead their life in a better way and participate more in the state of affairs and basically build a model with policies in India so that we can basically help the globe to have policies strengthened with sports to basically help the women to participate in the state of affairs. It can be economic or socio-economic.
Right. Can I get your name, please?
Sanjeev Singh.
Sanjeev. Yes. Okay. So Sanjeev, the question that you asked is related to how we can have policies at the ground level that helps women's sports or women to pick up sports as a healthy lifestyle, to what I gather, right? And now the answer to that question is in the work that you are doing. It has to be these small changes that we bring about in the society, whether as a part of the government or as a non-profit organization or just an individual like Sarita Didi is doing with her organization. The more we make aware the people that we have to include sports, just not for becoming a sports person, but or taking it as a career, but also to have a healthier lifestyle. And if we have that, if we are able to give that sort of information out, make the girls aware at a young age that this is the healthier lifestyle, this is the way to go forward, then, and when you see what happens is, mostly, it's always the guys or the boys that pick up a cricket bat and go to their friends and say, खेलने चलेगा, ball लेकर आजा, मैं bat लेकर आता हूँ, तू fielding कर लियो, right? If you can develop that with the girls and say, एक बच्चे के हाथ में आप बैडमिंटन रैकेट दे दीजिए, for example, एक लड़की के हाथ में, you give a badminton racket, for example, and don't give her the second racket. Make sure you distribute the other racket to her neighbor or to her school friend or something like that. Now, sport is such a thing that it requires two to tango. It will require two people to come together on a badminton court and play. It will take several number of athletes to play football together or come and form a cricket team and play versus another cricket team, whether it's in their colony or their house or their home district or their nation. Right? Similarly, policies are being built to have the infrastructure, because first and foremost, what is required in sports is the infrastructure. If you don't have a stadium, if you don't have a maidan, where will these kids go and play? It's not fair for them to stand on the road and play badminton every day. So similarly, these infrastructures need to be developed. While these infrastructures are being developed, this does not only mean to be a building infrastructure. It has to have the right assets to help the infrastructure grow, so that the kids have all the assets that is required for a healthy way of playing sports. Whether it is somebody who guides them on their nutrition, whether it is somebody who tells them how to physically train for a sport so they don't have injuries, so that they don't run in the wrong shoes and have an broken ankle, because of which they can't go to school the next day, something like that. They need to have first aid facilities with a small clinic, so that if somebody is hurt, it does not become life-threatening at any point. So all these things need to be, or like a physical education teacher, just a basic physical education teacher who can watch over these kids and promote this sort of, this sort of lifestyle in the right way. That is what's required at the administrative level.
Thank you. That lady over there.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Suprasha Roy from Pandu College. My question is that whenever a person starts playing a sports such as basketball, cricket, if he or she is on the plus size, a little bit on the plus size body type, then they will face a lot of verbal bullying and everything. So how to overcome that?
Dr. Asheema, would you like to take?
How to overcome the bullying when you're faced with being, plus size in the
Bigger
sports.
than normal size.
Okay. Especially in sports situation, are you telling me?
Yes,
Playing sports. How to overcome with bullying? Well, that's a very big topic, but then you have to build up your self-esteem firstly. Secondly, one very important thing that we keep neglecting here is to report to someone who is in authority to do something about it. It can be your parents. Firstly, talk about it. Don't keep it within yourself. Know very, very clearly there's nothing to be ashamed of doing anything if you're plus size. Nothing there. You can do anything under the roof that is there possible. It's up to you. No one other than you should decide what you can do and you are not able, what you are capable of in any field, including sports. So if you're faced with bullying of any kind, firstly, talk about it firstly. Talk to your friends, talk to someone you fully trust. Someone who has your best interest in their heart. Secondly, don't shy away from talking to authorities. Again, many a times I have been told that some of the school authorities, some of the colleges authorities, they don't take these issues very seriously. They will say you're too sensitive. You are being, oversensitive to I say, you're overreacting. Don't listen to that. What you feel is valid, it's valid. Even if everyone says you're overreacting, it is valid and you have to keep pushing it. Because unless you push it, most of the people are going to neglect this thing. Because this is a very common thing, bullying for your size. But if you are to get over this, you have to be an example for yourself. You have to set example for others also. So talk about it, report to authorities and keep pushing it till what you want to be done has been done. So this is some of the things that you can do for bullying, for body size. Secondly, we have...
Can we, I request the panelists also to be short in the answer so that we can take
This
more
is the
questions.
immediate thing we can do, but if you look at the bigger picture, this is where the role of social media comes into play also. How the body sizes are being encouraged, the zero sizes that are being encouraged. So we have to look at the body positive movement, be an agent for it, be a messenger of the body positivity movement yourself and encourage others also.
Thank you.
I think this is one way that we can,
So
fight bullying.
For the lady here.
Namaskar everyone. My name is Asheema. I am from Indonesia. My question is relating to Miss Sarita Devi. This is my question. You was mentioned that you belong in poor city in Manipur, in the hills. Like instead of do your passion in boxing, which moment that you realize that boxing is your passion to become in the future, and then instead of do that, is that also making you stay away from drugs that you was mentioned about? So I was wanna hear in your previous story, how is it and how you keep survive, then choosing of give up, it's so wonderful story. I was looking for Wikipedia before, so this is my question for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I request the panelists to keep the answers short so that we can take more questions. 2 more questions. Yeah, please, Mrs. Sarita Devi. Meanwhile, can we take one more question? This lady? Yes.